Welcome back to Thundersport GB Plus at Pembrey in West Wales. We're featuring the LMB Street Fighters on this programme, classes A, B and C, and there we see Class A protagonists, Keith Smith and Andy Denyer on the front row, Steve.
Yes, Keith Smith there. Well, he'll be looking to overcome those two 10-second penalties, separate ones that he got. I've never seen that before. That's a new record in Thundersport GB, two separate 10-second penalties. So, Keith, all you've got to do is watch for the red lights, wait for them to go out, then apply the throttle and obey all flag rules.
Is that how you do it?
That is.
Excellent. We'll be keeping an eye on him. There we see Matty say it's watch the lights time. Keith Smith and Andy Denyer then on that front row with Mick Riddle and Barry Utting, the two leaders in Street Fighter B, and Andy Denyer. Oh, goodness me, the bike didn't get hooked up and that could have been so unpleasant. And, well, thankfully, we can say, breathe out, and everyone got away with that. Actually, some masterly acts of avoidance by virtually 3/4 of the grid there.
Yeah, I tell you what will be fun though now was watching Andy Denyer coming through the pack, because the Meerkat will certainly want to try and get back into contention for the top 2 or 3. And look at him, look at the time he's made up already around the outside into the S's there, and well, he's going to be up into the top 10 by the end of lap 1, no problems. Smithy's got away, no jump start this time, ahead of Barry Utting. There's Palfreman and Mick Riddle, and Nigel Davis in 5th.
Very good start by Adam Palfreman to get in between Barry Utting and Mick Riddle. They had that wonderful battle earlier on, but Smithy up the front. No penalties this time, penalty-free this time indeed. At the front he is, but Andy Denyer looking back, not that far back down the road. 6th, I think, as he crosses the line this time.
Good start also for Barry Utting there. The Street Fighter B defending champion from 4th on the grid really did get it hooked up off the line, and Denyer goes past Nigel Davis and takes another spot.
Yes, Barry Utting, he's had quite a few opportunities over the season to mix it with the Street Fighter A machinery ahead of him, and he loves. Oh, somebody going horribly wide there.
Oh, that's Nigel Davis.
A lot of them come from a grass track background, or at least a supermoto background, and it doesn't really faze him to do a bit off track, does it?
I don't know. I would imagine that there was a fair bit of sweating going on there.
Phasing and phasing.
He was rapidly running out of room, and luckily Nigel returns to the circuit.
Yes. Oh, there, up the front, Smithy. Oh, look at that, Barry Utting. Sometimes you only see the bike as Barry. He is so flat on it. But Adam Palfreman up 32. There in 3rd place now in Street Fighter B. Mick Riddle has got back up into 2nd.
Here is Keith Smith ahead of Barry Utting leading Street Fighter B. Mick Riddle in 3rd, and Andy Denyer up to 4th. He gets on the power a little bit too early out of hatchets that time, but still, he's done very well considering he didn't get off the line at all.
Well, just keep an eye on the lap times, because Andy Denyer has certainly been putting in a big charge since the beginning. There we see Brad Davey leading Street Fighter C, and he's got himself a handy class lead at the moment. But Tony Hughes on a bit of a charge. Tony Hughes actually set a new lap record for Street Fighter C here. In fact, I think he's broken his own new lap record, so he's absolutely steaming along this weekend here at Pembrey. But we shall see whether Brad Davey can hang on for the class lead or not.
Superb riding style from Barry Utting there, as he really gets to grips with his Honda CBR 600 in the B class, and he is hunting down Street Fighter A leader Keith Smith, because of course they do score points in the Street Fighter Extreme class overall, so the points do make prizes, even though Keith Smith came into the event with about a 110-point lead.
Yes, Barry Utting, it's funny, that riding style. I remember him very well when he was racing at the top of GP 250s. He rode exactly the same way. He's obviously had the Observer Book of Aerodynamics under his pillow at some stage, and he really does make the lowest body profile I think I've ever seen. There's Richard Blunt, our rookie in the Bridgestone Thundersport 500s, enjoying himself, having a ride in Street Fighter C, carrying number 133, just ahead of these two.
I think I'd quite like to see Barry Utting maybe take to a CB 500 machine and have a go with all the very competitive Thundersport 500s out there, because I think the likes of Mr. Shelton and Andy Lawson might have their work cut out against Barry Utting, because he really is a very quick rider.
Yeah, highly professional racer. Andy Denyer, meanwhile, put the work in after that awful start. Still chasing away there just behind these leaders. There we see Barry Utting in second place, leading Street Fighter B. But at the moment, Smithy where he wants to be, having blown it with the penalties in the earlier race. He leads this one.
Denyer in third position after not getting off the line. He's currently, his best lap is a 102.8. That's a couple of tenths slower than Keith Smith's out front, so he'll do well to bridge that gap. There's Brad Davey, number 14, currently second in Street Fighter C, and that's Steve Bradbury and Keith Warren. Yeah,
Keith Warren's third in class. Yes, Tony Hughes, as we thought, up to the head of that class at the moment, and going really well in this. But, Smithy has got a bit of traffic to deal with before the end of this. And look how Andy Denyer now up into third and closing on Barry Utting, and I don't think there's a frightening amount Barry can do to resist the charge. They may be a bit of out fumbling going on as they go past the slower machines, but there Smithy's through. There Utting in second, and Andy Denyer just looking to pick his spot.
Yeah, Andy Denyer just picking it up out of hatchets and relying on the power of his Triumph 675. He should have that little bit more grunt in that Triumph than Barry Utting, as Tony Hughes goes past, leading Street Fighter C by quite a distance at the moment. Well, I say that. Brad Davey is closing him up.
Around DeBenny he goes, down towards the clubhouse, and there Smithy out the front on this huge Aprilia, beautifully turned out machine, and Smithy giving it beans. He doesn't really know any other way of racing, does he? Occasionally it comes unstuck, and he comes unstuck, and he sits in the gravel, but it's only because he tries so hard. He's always giving it lumfuls, and Andy Denyer moves up into second on the road and second in Class A. Smithy bouncing around there. There are 1 or 2 points, we've noticed it on a couple of corners. There's a few bumps into a couple of corners at Pembrey, just as you get into the braking area, and some machines get really quite unsettled, don't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of cars that race around here at Pembrey, and obviously the tarmac's getting pushed up a little bit. Certainly Formula 3 cars test here quite a lot, so that would certainly explain that into a hairpin like hatchets. So.
I think it's certainly true also because they have a bit of truck racing, and frankly, as I know from days of old, that truck racing really does push the surface of a track around fairly dramatically. 63
there, that is Bob Docker. Good to have him back with us. He had a monstrous crash earlier in the year with Thundersport, so nice to have him back out on the Street Fighter grid. But at the front here, Keith Smith, aka Smithy, aka Mr. Potato Head, Spud you like, whatever name you can think of, really.
Anything that involves mash, boil, anything you like. Along to the last lap, and it's going to be, well, it ought to be a good victory, but Andy Denyer has just popped in a fastest lap of the race, so he's still keeping the pressure up, and Smithy has to deal with traffic before the end of this lap.
Here it's up the inside of Bob Docker into the S's, past the clubhouse. He's just got to very carefully pick his way past Rob Cragnell now.
And he lines him up on the entry into Brooklands. Is he going to go all the way around the outside? Surely not. Maybe cut across and try it up the speedway straight. That'll do. But this, yeah, he's stroking it home. Andy Denyer not close enough to worry him, and even though there's 1 or 2 bikes they need to negotiate, the checkered flag being made ready, and Smithy will take the win. Keith Smith wins it, number 40, wins overall and wins Street Fighter A. Andy Denyer will cross in second place, and he'll be second in Street Fighter A. Yes, good afternoon, sir. Smithy saying hello. And the results show that he takes the win from Andy Denyer. Barry Utting was third, Mick Riddle fourth, Adam Portman fifth, and Tony Hughes gets up to finish sixth. And then we see the Street Fighter A podium. Third place, Steve Bradbury. Second, Andy Denyer. The winner, Keith Smith. In the standings, well, Keith Smith with that handy advantage over Bradbury and Denyer. Sean Goldsmith fourth, Brent Menage in fifth, and Chris Dixon sixth. And in Street Fighter B, they shuffle over. Third, was Adam Portman. Second, McRiddle. The winner, Barry Utting. And Barry leads the standings by a humongous amount from Barry Rudge and Rob Pragnell. And finally, in Street Fighter C, you'll see that in third place, it was Keith Warren. Brad Davey was second. The winner was Tony Hughes. Tony Hughes leads those standings by not a lot. Can be caught by Brad Davey, Doug McMillan third, Keith Warren, Gary Paul and Mick Everett sixth.
Keith Smith, winner of Street Fighter A. Obviously the new suit worked. That was a great race, but I got quite close in the end.
Yeah, it's a great race from my old mate Andy Denyer, who was making a bit of a racket down there. Yeah, cracking race against Andy and Barry. It's always fantastic racing against those guys. It's always close racing. They've had a couple of wins in a couple of seconds, and they've all been within like a second or two of each other. So it's been fantastic.
Well, it was excellent to watch as well. Who'd you like to thank, mate?
I'd like to say thanks to all lads at Premier Bikes for helping out. A couple of lads at Trimesh who put my bike back together when I bend it. And I've got to say thanks to my sister as well, because I never do. So a big thank you to Jennifer.
Yes, a huge thank you to Jennifer. That's it from Pembrey. From myself, Robin Murphy, from Steve Day. We'll be back with you for all the great action for On Brands Hatch in a couple of weeks.